This might just be the most important test ride we've aired at SnowTrax television. Why, you're saying? Because this is the first Polaris four-stroke snowmobile with a proprietary Polaris engine in it ever. I have the privilege of bringing you this test ride on this all-new four-stroke Polaris snowmobile. I have rumored for almost 10 years that Polaris would do this, but for sure in the last 5 years, I've rumored it very, very strongly and was actually anticipating it a couple of years ago. Let's get this in perspective. Is this big news? Nah, this isn't big news. This is gibungous news for the snowmobile industry. For those among our viewers who are Polaris aficionados, you have probably figured out that this motor may be used in something else that Polaris builds. And you would be 100% correct. This is a very similar motor, 1000cc, 8-valve, double overhead cam, ProStar engine that is used in the Razor. Now, there are material differences between what the Razor gets and this gets. Number one biggest change, this is a dry sump engine. In other words, it has a remote oil tank. It doesn't carry its oil in the crankcase. Why? Because Polaris wants the motor, particularly the motors in snowmobiles, to sit very low in the chassis. The motor is a stellar 270 450, or some might call it 270-90. You have to talk to Polaris engineers to get the whole story on that, but that's its firing order. What does that mean? It means it sounds a bit like a Harley, and it's got a cool cadence to it, a nice rumble. The other thing that's very impressive, that firing order contributes to a natural balancing effect, but this has a gear-driven counterbalancer as well. Here's the number one question you're going to be asking us, and already are asking us, about the new ProStar. What'll she do? Polaris claims that the motor is more than 80 horsepower and less than 100 horsepower, so my calculator says it's a 90 horsepower motor. In practical terms, what does that translate into? We've been riding here in Yellowstone, and quite frankly, this will handle at 6,600 feet. I can get it going a steady 75 indicated miles per hour on the speedometer, which is impressive for 90 horsepower at altitude. So the S4 in the Matrix doesn't give any clues other than that decal on the side of the fender that it has the four-stroke motor in it. The packaging here is very, very tight, very slick, and very efficient. The motor does not produce a lot of underhood heat, although it does have extra venting in the hood panels, and that's something that's different and defines it from the rest of the Matrix models that have two-stroke engines. So Polaris is going to market the new S4 this way. It's not going to be a model unto itself. It's going to be an alternate power plant in existing models. You can get the Voyager with an S4, and you can get the XC with an S4 in 2 track lengths. And believe it or not, the Titan will have the S4 engine as an optional power plant in this model year. So that's how it's going to be positioned. You'll have your engine choices in existing platforms. This next bit of information may be a little unsettling, but I want to give you confidence it's okay. What am I talking about? Throttle lag. Why am I talking about throttle lag? Because this has a drive-by-wire DBW throttle like some other vehicles do in the snowmobile marketplace, 4-strokes. There is no throttle lag at all. This throttle is completely intuitive. If you didn't know that it was drive-by-wire, or you didn't look and notice that there's no cable here, you wouldn't know the difference. There are 3 modes. It's a tri-mode throttle. So you have Eco, Normal, and then you have Sport. I've always found with drive-by-wire throttles that you need to run them in Sport to make them feel like a cable throttle. You can run this in Normal and it feels just fine. No lag, completely seamless takeoff and engagement. But in Sport mode, it actually has a little bit of an edge to it. And up here at altitude, at 6,600 feet, Sport mode is just about perfect. For a first-year engine platform, Polaris is giving buyers a lot of choices where they can put this motor. And that's a good idea this year. So you don't have to just look at one platform with the new S4. You can look at many popular platforms, all of them Matrix. That means you get Polaris stellar handling, you get great suspension quality, and great ergonomics, great serviceability. It's all a part of the Matrix S4 package. If you're a 4-stroke buyer and you have a 4-stroke snowmobile, or you're thinking about going from a 2-stroke to a 4-stroke, then it's not an option for you to just consider this. You need to get down to your local Polaris store and you need to find out all the details on the new S4, because this is a very competitive offering in the 4-stroke class.